They have no interest in growing humanity, no interest in advancing the species as a whole. Their interest is in power and control, and all they want to do is have absolute power over the people that currently exist and their children.
Yes, exactly. They're thinking about it the wrong way.
All right, folks. Well, something I certainly did not have on my 2023 bingo card was Alex Jones, Elon Musk, Andrew Tate, and Vivek Ramaswamy all speaking to each other on the same exact interview at the same exact time. But that is what happened on Sunday, as we have to react here to what was probably the biggest Twitter space in world history. But first, the context for people who are confused. You're like, how the heck did that even happen? Well, this whole story begins yesterday when we got the news that Alex Jones would be reinstated by Twitter/X, right? He's getting his account back. And I think it goes without saying that that is obviously a huge win for free speech. Elon claims he wants to make X into a pro-First Amendment platform. And while I don't think X is perfect or Elon is perfect, firstly, I have certainly felt so far that I can say a lot more there than I can say on any other big tech social media platform, which is a positive sign. And I think this too is a sign that, hey, it's not just the mainstream figures on the left and the right that are going to be allowed on this site. Even the dissident or quote unquote controversial ones like Alex Jones are going to be given a voice. That's the way it should be, and I'm glad to see it. By the way, while we're at it, let me just point out that the initial reason that Alex was banned from Twitter in the first place is absolutely ridiculous. It had nothing to do with Sandy Hook and that whole thing, contrary to what a lot of people are saying about that. That's not true. And so long story short, you know, that's in the past. We're glad it's rectified now, but Alex is back on Twitter. But as you can imagine, the story doesn't just stop there, because not only did Elon quietly reinstate him, he decided to hold a Twitter space, not just with Alex, but with, like I named in the intro to this video, basically a bunch, the Avengers of the banned or canceled or dissident people out there. And it's a pretty long space, but we will react here today to 10 of what I think are the best minutes of that Twitter space. And really, this live stream had it all. You had obviously them talking about free speech and globalism and all that different, good stuff. You also had Vivek Ramaswamy taking a piss. Not joking about this, okay? We're going to watch it here today. Taking a piss on the stream and forgetting to turn his mic off. So that was hilarious, to say the least. And where we're going to actually start with this video is you again have the Avengers of being controversial, quote unquote, or canceled or whatever it is, telling the truth, however you want to frame it. Them all joining to basically dunk on a liberal nerd named Ed Krasenstein. Now, if you're not familiar with who Ed Krasenstein is, you're not a big Twitter user. Well, let me summarize it by saying that he basically sums up this meme right here. Actually, right, that is exactly who he is. You don't need to know much. All you need to know is, again, he's an incredibly pseudo-intellectual, nerdy, annoying liberal journalist, but he's kind of like Elon's representation on X that, hey, we have this kind of gang of liberals and right-wingers and all this different stuff. That's basically all you need to know. So we're having a conversation about globalism and all of its impacts and effects and how evil the globalists are. And then, actually, Ed Krasenstein jumps in to argue that actually globalism is not bad and not all globalists are bad people. And just take a listen to what ensues here. And we'll start from there and just listen to some of this, because like I said, it's great content. What else can I say? It's great content. All right, here you go.
I've got to use my good looks for something.
Well, I think we ought to encourage people to have kids, and
this is the bottom line argument. This is what is so important. We just talked about how the globalists are ultimately selfish and only care about their own power.
Most of the globalists don't have children, and
of course, because they're selfish.
Here's the thing: you guys are all attacking the globalists, but if you ask a globalist, like, I have friends who I would consider globalists. You ask them, their ideology.
Can't you just hear it in his voice? Sorry to pause, but can't you just hear it in his voice? You see what I'm saying? You guys are attacking the globalists, but actually globalism is good because That's Ed Krasenstein. All you need to know about him.
Are aligned that they believe that somebody living across the world is just as valuable as somebody who lives in America. And I know, they've
already enslaved the third world, and they're using them.
But that's not how everybody who you would categorize as.
No, you're right. There's a lot of useful idiot globalists, but the globalists at the top are depopulationists. That's their religion.
So maybe if you want to look at the top, you can say globalists at the top. Some of them might have that view, but if you just talk to an ordinary person who views themselves as a globalist, they're not saying, "Oh, I'm evil." They're not an evil person. They just have this belief that every human being around the globe is equal. That's
I would call that an internationalist. That's an internationalist. A globalist wants one world government run by corporations.
Yeah, well, I think you can label them differently, but I think if you talk to somebody,
Henry Kissinger was a globalist. Zbigniew Brzezinski was a globalist. I'm not trying to be mean to you, but their number one rule is the Earth is too small. We can't expand. We've got to bean count and put everybody on rations. We've got to social engineer and end the normal human program because humans are failed. And they want to turn us into factory farm humans. Those are allowed to survive.
I'll answer the question. I'll answer the question quickly.
Just to add context there, in the last couple minutes, they were talking about, people not having kids and how people need to have kids. So understand when Alex talks about population and all that stuff, he's not just throwing that out of thin air. He's not trying to sound crazy, quote unquote. That's what they were talking about. But, you see what I'm saying about Ed Krasenstein, right? Actually, globalists are not bad people. Nerd! All right, anyways.
If we can just say some of these titles are a little confusing. If someone's an internationalist or a globalist, I think what can achieve some disambiguation here is to say does someone have as an axiomatic belief that there are too many people on the Earth, or do they not? Do they believe that the Earth can sustain the current population, or do they think it cannot? Now, the reality is Earth can actually handle a human population probably 10 times larger than the current population. Earth is actually very sparsely populated by humans. We only see density because if we're in a dense urban environment like New York or Boston, London or something like that. But if here would be like a good test. If you took a plane from LA to New York and you try to drop a bowling ball and hit somebody, your chances of success are basically zero.
You'd have to drop 10,000 bowling balls, maybe.
Yes, you just and I'll tell you sort of something that may scare people a little bit is that there are thousands of objects falling onto Earth from space all the time. But how often do you hear about someone actually getting hit by falling by meteorites?
Absolutely, there's one known case of a woman in her house getting hit by one.
Elon,
yeah.
So before we continue here, what Elon is saying is absolutely true and very important because you hear this all the time. People need to stop having kids, save the environment. Children are bad for the environment. The long story short is they don't want the birth rate to sustain. They think the idea of people having these families and having children and extending their genetic legacy is bad for the planet, or they'll make these fake pseudo-intellectual arguments about them. But as Elon's pointing out, and especially what's true in a lot of Western countries, the problem is not that we're having too many kids. The problem is we're not having enough kids, right? And in this whole line that the Earth is being overpopulated has, different types of people have been trying to argue that since the Industrial Revolution, and their doomsday predictions never come true. And I think you see it here today, the whole climate change movement and all this different stuff pushing you to not have kids. I don't see it as much different from the evil of the one-child policy in China or whatever you want to say. And there's a reason why they're pushing it. And it's not actually backed by real science, this whole idea that we have too many kids. No, you look at the birth rate in America and most Western countries, the problem is it's actually below the replacement rate, right? We're not having enough people. And there's going to be serious problems and ramifications of that. But what Elon is saying is true. Now, I will say, I don't think his point of, look how much space there is on the Earth. I don't think we should be filling, to be clear, every inch of the Earth with big cities and population, right? I like rural spots and stuff like that, true. But I think the point he is making is that to again demonstrate this idea of that the earth is overpopulating, especially that the West is overpopulating, is not true. And following that idea is going to have very dangerous consequences when you discover, hey, we don't have enough kids. Who's going to fill the jobs? Who's going to sustain the society? What is this country's future going to be? You're going to see total demographic collapse if you allow basically the liberal eugenicists, in many ways, what I would call them, to win. And it's true.
I want to just respond to Ed actually for a second, because again, when it comes, I think it's good to get a good counter view here. I think that there's two different things going on, Ed. And I know what you're trying to say, but there's a separate point about your obligations, right? So you can, and I believe everything has been said about the importance of expansionism for humanity being pro-civilization, and expansion pro-human race to win. That's like a separate axis, though, from saying where are your obligations where you are. Right. True. So we talked about procreation and family. Then we talked about the nation. Well, look, I have two kids. As a father, my moral obligation, I believe, is first and foremost to my family. And then, let's say, as a president, my moral obligation is to the citizens of the nation that I lead.
True.
And then you can worry about hunger in the Congo or whatever else needs to happen in the Darfur or in other places. And so I don't think that you're saying necessarily that life...
Charity begins at home.
Exactly. And that's not saying that life abroad is any less valuable inherently. And so when you say like the globalist view is that all it's saying is that all life is equal wherever it is on Earth, it's not like I think an alternative view is countering that. There's also just a separate place in terms of where you're situated. Where's your obligation, right? As a father, it's to your family. As a president, it's to your country. And just because you believe that's the hierarchy of your obligations means somebody else is the leader of one of those other countries. And that's an obligation that they have too. But that's like a different discussion.
Well, the neoliberals in their own PR, they're the ones doing the worst things on the earth. They just say, oh, we want global government because we want to give Africa's representation. Then they lock them down for 3 years and starve 30 million of them to death and then organize them to flood us as a political underclass. This is cold-blooded.
Yeah, I mean,
Henry Kissinger's State Department Memorandum 200. I mean,
yeah,
they've got
it's not black and white.
I think there's two different conversations.
But what is black and...
Wait,
what is,
can we
what
just,
is,
I'm sorry.
what is black?
Go ahead, Andrew. Go ahead, Andrew, and then we'll go to Dave. Andrew?
What I do believe is black and white is simply, if you read a history book, you'll see the worst things that humanity have ever done have been done with good intentions. That's what's so bad about evil acts, is that people think they're doing the right thing. And that's the most dangerous thing about it. And this idea that they look at all human life as sacred and all the same, I actually disagree. I think the reason they will prioritize people in a third world country, for example, you'll say it's because they see us as equal. I think it's because they see us now as spoiled and annoying. They don't like that we need pensions and living space and healthcare. They simply want slaves and a robot class, and they'll do anything it takes to get it, and they'll get it from anywhere they can. And when someone comes along and says, well, my intentions are good, I'm not interested in that, because you can name any Holocaust or any atrocity in history. The people didn't think they were the bad guys. They often thought they were the good guys. And I guess the easy way to look at life is you want to be having as many children as possible. You want to pray other people do the same, and you want those people to enjoy freedom. And anyone who's coming along restricting speech, restricting access to certain things, restricting movement, all they're doing is trying to restrict so they can control. And nobody in a history book ever who did that either was the good guy. I think it's very clear to see who's on the right side of history and who isn't. And I advocate freedom for everybody. If I had disagreed with absolutely everything Alex said, I'd still be glad he's back on X, and these people can't even handle a different opinion. Do you think they're going to allow the people who have a different opinion to them to share water or share food or share anything else once they have?
And the reason they don't want another opinion is they want to misrepresent what Elon Musk or Andrew Tate or Vivek Ramaswamy or any of, I'm telling you, they want us silenced so they can lie about what we said.
That is such an important point by Alex Jones. And 100% spot on. That's always what they do when they deplatform any right-wing or, anti-mainstream figure, is they write the hit piece. Sometimes it's before, sometimes it's after. But then what do? They take you off all the platforms so that way you're not allowed to have a response. You're not allowed to tell your own side. It's a tactic they use all the time. They always do it every time they deplatform someone, and that's a very acute observation. I mean, I know it happened to him, but it's very true about Alex Jones, because notice, like, for instance, him with the Sandy Hook stuff that people won't stop, hammering so much. that whole thing didn't even get respouted until after Alex was deplatformed. People forget the history there, but I think Alex Jones was banned, 2017, 2018 or something like that. It's only a couple of years ago that they started pushing really hard with the Sandy Hook stuff and, filing the lawsuit and all that. And because Alex was so banned everywhere, he never got a chance to actually respond or tell his side to the story. That's a very important point, and notice they always do this.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Hold on. Well, Jackson, I'm going to go to you right after Dave.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I agree that with you there. I think that a lot of the media and a lot of these platforms do want to silence voices because they want their voice to be heard louder. So yeah, I definitely hear you there. I definitely don't. As when it comes to globalists, I think, it's not black and white. You're not either a globalist or you're not. I think people fall in between, and there's different reasons for why people might feel one way about one, you could say globalist idea and another. So I don't like painting people like, with a black and white pen, because I feel that everybody falls somewhere in the middle.
Ed Krasenstein is such a pseudo-intellectual mid-wit nerd. Like, you can hear it in his voice, first of all, but even notice by his takes and the things he says. He tries to always take this position of nuance where it's like, not everything is black and white. And it's meant to display to the world that he has a degree of, nuance and complexity to the things he actually believes. But like I said, it's just a bunch of mumbo jumbo. It's just a bunch of nonsense. And I think a lot of people can see right through it. All right, let's get to the actual good stuff.
All I know is this. There are people that want a corporate world government whose aim is depopulation and not giving the general public access to technology by lying about resources and literally saying carbon dioxide that plants breathe is evil, and then telling us the world's going to end in 2030 and the ice caps are all going to melt, and none of that's true. So our children basically give up on the future and decide not to.
Okay, so this is Vivek taking a piss. Okay, this is him peeing on stream for people who are like, what's that?
Children, that's all I'm saying. Elon Musk is promoting an optimistic pro-human future that the science and evidence shows is real and that we need.
Gentlemen, I have to go.
Yeah, I just want to be sort of exactly. I want to be very clear about my position. I'm super pro-human, and I mean all humans. Humans in America, humans in
somebody's got their thing open.
It's a healthy stream.
And everywhere else.
Their phone open in the bathroom.
Yeah, that's Vivek. Vivek, that's your phone, Vivek. I'm not able to mute you. Vivek. Perfect. Go ahead, Elon.
Sorry about that.
So. Well, I hope you feel better.
I feel great. Thank you. Sorry about that, guys.
I know that's not the best look for a presidential candidate, but I actually thought that was pretty funny. I actually gained respect for Vivek, okay? And it's also kind of a Sigma male thing to do. Oh, you gotta mute your mic when you go pee? Not me, okay? He doesn't take rules. He doesn't listen to anyone. But yeah, that was pretty funny. That was pretty funny.
I'm super pro-human, like for Team Humanity here, and I just think we want to make sure that people have a positive view of the future, and like I think I encounter a lot of people who have actually very pessimistic conclusions about the future, and if you try to unpack that and say where does that pessimism come from, and I think like these are like good people, like they have good intentions. I think they think about.
Elon's Wi-Fi cuts out here. That's not me. Let's skip ahead to the very end.
Not have it. They're blowing up the bridge that gets them there.
Richest man in the world.
What I would like to say, my final
richest man in the world, and he has Wi-Fi that's comparable to mine. That's amazing.
My final point, I would like to say, I often get asked by people who follow me, they say, who do you think who controls the world? Who do you think the Matrix is? And I use the Matrix as a very simple way to explain that they purport a false version of reality that everyone buys into to keep your mind occupied so they can extract your body heat from you for the soulless machines, which are essentially the globalists we're talking about. And I try and say that I still believe that we run the world. There's a lot more of us than them. We still control the world. It's just down to what we will accept. and what will allow them to do to us. And that's why bravery is so essential and so important. And I know I can come across as brash with my message, but
no, you're not. You
I'm telling 16-year-olds, when I'm telling 16-year-olds to go and get rich and buy a fast car and train hard and go to the gym, etc., because these young men are far less likely to blindly comply. And it's extremely important that they don't psyop the next generation of young masculine youth.
And that's why the system was scared of you, Andrew, because you were doing an extreme version of it to shock them out of it, to show them how to have a destiny, how to have desire, how to want to be into the future. And then that's the same thing in a different way.
You're right. We still control the world, and it's down to what we will accept. And it's going to take bravery and love. You need to love the people around you and love the human race and love the place you're from. And I just want to wrap up by saying that I would never kill myself. And if they put me back in that dungeon to starve, I hope you will all do your very best to get me out, because I'm in a very...
We will, Andrew. Love you.
All right, so that basically sums up the bit of the space I wanted to react to. I mean, you guys obviously can go feel free. I'm sure the 2-hour replay is somewhere on YouTube, and if not, I'm pretty sure it's on X itself. But that last point there that Andrew Tate makes about I would never kill myself, you know what he's trying to say there. People say this all the time, right? Andrew Tate would never kill himself, Alex Jones, Donald Trump, and those are all targets of, the powers that be, and God forbid, we hope nothing happens to anyone, right? Who's speaking out, speaking truth to power, doing whatever. But one of the people, I guess, we don't think about as much in terms of that, but I think is arguably one of the greatest threats to the powers that be right now is Elon Musk himself. And I know that's maybe weird to say, because Elon Musk is not the furthest right person. He's not the most conservative. And it's not about that. It's not necessarily about what Elon himself believes. It's about what he's doing. And think about what he's done with Twitter, now X, and how much of a threat, arguably the biggest threat there currently is out there, outside of maybe the political system itself, that there is here's a guy, all the social media platforms had censorship. And here's a guy who bought out, just basically took for himself one of the biggest platforms, and arguably when it comes to political speech, the biggest platform out there that they were controlling and, was highly censored, and everyone is banned on all this stuff. He just takes it and more or less liberates it. People underestimate how much it is a threat to the system and the order that is of what Elon Musk is doing right now. So I think, we have that conversation a lot about people who their beliefs themselves are controversial. And again, God forbid, we pray for all of their safety, and they're all targets. It's true. But people, I think, underestimate the importance and the significance of what Elon is doing, right, with the platform. And it's definitely a big thing. And I think the survival of X as a free speech platform really is tied, I think, in many ways. It's tied with the survival of our civilization. And I know that's a maybe out there take. You'll understand it one day. Trust me on that. All right, with that said, folks, let me know your thoughts on the collab of the century. Okay, be sure to let me know. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new and you enjoyed this video. And until next time, folks, Alpha moves only. God bless. Have a very good day and peace.